Elena Martinez had always been invisible. At 23, she worked the night shift monitoring deep space communications at Outpost Sigma 7, a small research station orbiting the gas giant Kepler 442b. The other crew members barely acknowledged her presence, treating her like another piece of equipment that quietly performed its function without complaint. She preferred it that way. While her colleagues socialized in the common areas, Elena spent her free time in the abandoned storage bay she had converted into a personal workshop. Here, surrounded by salvaged electronics and half-finished projects, she felt most comfortable. The solitude allowed her to think, to observe, and, most importantly, to prepare. Elena had grown up on Earth's overcrowded colonies where resources were scarce, and only the loud and aggressive survived. She learned early that being noticed often meant being targeted. So she became a shadow, moving through life undetected while her sharp mind absorbed everything around her. The Kepler system had been humanity's newest frontier for 15 years. 3 planets showed signs of ancient civilization, but all attempts at contact had failed. The alien ruins were beautiful, but silent, their creators long gone. Most humans assumed the galaxy was theirs for the taking. Elena knew better. She had been monitoring subspace frequencies that others ignored, piecing together fragments of transmissions that suggested something was still out there. The patterns were subtle, almost like whispers in the cosmic background noise, but they followed mathematical sequences too complex to be natural phenomena. Dr. Sarah Chun, the station commander, was reviewing quarterly reports when Elena finally decided to speak up. She found Chun alone in the lab at 0300 hours, knowing the commander's habit of working late when stressed about budget reviews. "Commander," Elena said quietly from the doorway. Chun looked up, startled. She had forgotten Elena was even on duty. "Martinez, right? What is it?" Elena stepped forward, carrying a data pad containing months of her secret research. Her heart pounded, but her voice remained steady. "I've been analyzing some unusual transmission patterns. I think we're not alone out here." Chen's expression shifted from mild irritation to concern. She knew Elena's reputation as a competent but unremarkable technician. "What kind of patterns?" Elena activated her data pad, displaying complex waveform analysis. "These signals appear random at first, but when I apply recursive mathematical filters, they show clear intelligence markers. The source appears to be moving through the outer system." Chen studied the data, her scientific training taking over. The mathematics were sound, the analysis thorough. "Why haven't our main sensors detected anything?" "Because they're using quantum-encrypted burst transmissions. Very advanced. Much more sophisticated than our current technology," Elena explained. "I've been tracking them for 8 months. They're definitely artificial, and they're getting closer." The commander's face paled as she realized the implications. If Elena was correct, humanity's expansion into the Kepler system might not be as unopposed as they believed. "Have you shared this with anyone else?" "No. I wanted to be certain first." Elena hesitated, then continued. "There's something else. The transmission frequency has increased by 40% in the last week. Whatever's out there, it's becoming more active." Chen immediately activated the station's emergency protocols. Within hours, a priority message was sent to Earth Command, but the response would take weeks due to the vast distances involved. The small research outpost was on its own. Over the following days, Elena found herself thrust into an unfamiliar role. Her fellow crew members, who had barely noticed her before, now looked to her with a mixture of respect and fear. She had become the expert on humanity's potential first contact with hostile aliens. The signals continued to strengthen. Elena's analysis suggested multiple sources, coordinated but distinct. She worked 18-hour shifts, mapping their movements and trying to decode their communications. The mathematics were beautiful in their complexity, revealing a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity. Dr. James Park, the station's xenobiologist, joined Elena in her makeshift laboratory. "These patterns," he said, studying her latest findings. "They're not just communication. They're scanning patterns. They're mapping our technology." Elena nodded grimly. "They've been watching us for months, possibly years, learning our capabilities, our weaknesses." She pulled up another display. "But there's something interesting. Their scanning focuses heavily on our defensive systems and population centers. This isn't scientific curiosity." The realization hit everyone simultaneously. This wasn't first contact. This was reconnaissance for an invasion. Commander Chen called an emergency meeting. The 12-person crew gathered in the small conference room, their faces tense with worry. Elena sat quietly in the corner, still feeling out of place despite being the center of attention. Based on Martinez's analysis, Chin began, "We're facing a potential threat unlike anything humanity has encountered. These aliens have been studying us, and their intentions appear hostile." Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, the station's security chief, leaned forward. "What's our defensive capability against advanced alien technology?" Chin's expression was grim. "Minimal. This is a research station, not a military outpost. We have basic defensive shields and a few plasma cannons designed to deflect asteroids, nothing more." Elena cleared her throat softly. Everyone turned to look at her, and she felt the familiar urge to disappear. But humanity's survival might depend on what she said next. "I've been working on something," she said quietly. "A way to disrupt their scanning technology. It's theoretical, but it might work." She activated her data pad, displaying schematics for a device she had been secretly developing. Their technology relies on quantum entanglement for long-range scanning. If we can create a localized quantum field distortion, we might be able to blind them temporarily. Dr. Park studied the designs with amazement. "This is incredibly sophisticated. Where did you learn quantum field theory?" Elena's cheeks reddened slightly. "I studied it in my spare time. I've always been interested in theoretical physics." She didn't mention the years she had spent teaching herself advanced mathematics and engineering while others slept, driven by a curiosity that few understood. Commander Chen realized they had been drastically underestimating their quiet communications officer. "How long would it take to build this device?" "With the station's fabrication systems and the components I've already gathered, maybe 72 hours, Elena replied. "But it's never been tested. And once we activate it, they'll know exactly where we are." The crew fell silent, understanding the implications. The device might protect them temporarily, but it would also paint a target on their small station. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez spoke first. "How long until they arrive?" Elena consulted her latest calculations. "Based on their current trajectory and the acceleration patterns I've observed, approximately 8 days. Maybe less if they have technology we haven't detected yet." Commander Chen made the decision that would change everything. "We build the device. Martinez, you have whatever resources you need. Everyone else, we prepare for the possibility that we're about to become humanity's first line of defense against an alien invasion." Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. For years, she had been content to remain invisible, watching from the shadows. Now, humanity's survival might depend on the quiet girl nobody had noticed becoming something far more dangerous. As the crew dispersed to begin preparations, Elena returned to her workshop. She had 8 days to transform from an overlooked technician into humanity's secret weapon. The question wasn't whether she could build the device that might save them. The question was whether she was ready to become the hunter that Earth desperately needed. Elena's fingers moved across the fabrication console with practiced precision. 72 hours had compressed into a blur of welding sparks, quantum calculations, and mounting tension. The device she was building looked deceptively simple. A crystalline core surrounded by 3 rotating electromagnetic rings, no larger than a briefcase. But Elena knew its true power. The quantum field disruptor could theoretically create a bubble of scrambled space-time around the station, making them invisible to the aliens' advanced scanning technology. The mathematics were elegant, borrowed from theoretical papers on faster-than-light communication that most scientists dismissed as impossible. Dr. Park approached her workstation cautiously. Elena had barely slept in 3 days, and her normally quiet demeanor had become almost frightening in its intensity. "Elena, you need rest. The crew is worried about you." She looked up from her work, and Park was startled by what he saw. Elena's eyes, usually soft and distant, now burned with fierce determination. The transformation was remarkable. The invisible girl had become something else entirely. "The mathematical resonance frequencies need to be perfect," Elena explained, her voice carrying new authority. "One miscalculation, and instead of hiding us, the device could tear apart local spacetime. I won't risk everyone's lives on imperfect work." Park nodded, understanding. Elena had become their expert on impossible technology, carrying the burden of knowledge that could save or doom them all. "What can I do to help?" Elena gestured to a series of bioneural interfaces she had designed. "These will connect the device to the station's main computer. But they need to be calibrated to human neural patterns. Your expertise in xenobiology could help me understand how different species might perceive quantum fields differently." As they worked together, Park began to realize the true scope of Elena's brilliance. Her understanding of theoretical physics went far beyond anything taught in standard courses. She thought in ways that seemed to bypass normal human limitations, seeing patterns and connections that others missed entirely. Where did you really learn all this? Park asked as Elena adjusted the bioneural interface with impossible precision. Elena paused, her hands stilling on the delicate instruments. I've always been different, she said quietly. While other children played games, I was reading research papers on quantum mechanics. While teenagers went to parties, I was teaching myself alien mathematics from archaeological discoveries. I never fit in anywhere, so I made my own world. She activated a holographic display showing the aliens' approach vector. Red dots moved inexorably toward their position, now only 5 days away. But this world is ending, Elena continued. And maybe that's what I was meant for. Not to fit in with humanity, but to protect it. Commander Chin's voice echoed through the workshop's communication system. All hands to the observation deck. We have visual contact. Elena and Park rushed to join the rest of the crew. Through the station's powerful telescopes, they could see them, sleek, angular vessels that seemed to bend light around their edges. The ships were beautiful in an alien way, like geometric origami folded from starlight itself. 15 vessels, reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Each one approximately 3 times the size of our station. They're moving in perfect formation. Elena studied the alien fleet through the telescope's interface. Their movement patterns were hypnotic, synchronized with mathematical precision that spoke of a hive-mind intelligence or technology so advanced it achieved the same effect. They're not just ships, Elena said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. They're components of a larger system. Watch how they pulse in sequence. As the crew observed, they began to see what Elena had noticed immediately. The alien vessels weren't individual craft but parts of a distributed intelligence, each ship serving as a node in a vast computational network. That's how they've been scanning us, Elena continued. Each ship processes a different aspect of our technology and culture. Together, they've built a complete psychological and technological profile of humanity. Dr. Chun felt a chill run down her spine. What does that mean for our defense strategy? Elena's expression hardened. It means they know exactly how humans typically react to threats. They're expecting us to either surrender or fight conventionally. They've planned for both scenarios. She moved to a different console, pulling up the quantum field disruptor's control interface. But they don't know about me. I'm an anomaly in their calculations. I think differently than most humans, and I've built technology they haven't scanned because it didn't exist until now. Elena's fingers danced across the control panel, making final adjustments to the device. The crystalline core began to glow with ethereal blue light, and the electromagnetic rings started their slow rotation. When I activate this, we'll become invisible to their scans for approximately 6 hours, Elena explained. But the energy signature will reveal our position the moment it shuts down. We'll have one chance to act while they're confused and searching for us. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez stepped forward. Act how? This is a research station. We don't have weapons capable of damaging ships that advanced. Elena turned to face the security chief, and for the first time since the crisis began, she smiled. It wasn't a comforting expression. There was something predatory in it, something that spoke of carefully hidden depths. We don't need to damage their ships, Elena said. We need to damage their ability to think collectively. I've been analyzing their communication protocols for weeks. They rely on quantum entanglement to maintain their distributed consciousness across the fleet. She activated another display, showing a complex diagram of overlapping energy fields. If we can disrupt that entanglement at precisely the right moment, their fleet will become 15 confused individual ships instead of one unified intelligence. The psychological shock alone might be enough to force a retreat. Dr. Park stared at the diagram in amazement. You're proposing to lobotomize an entire alien civilization. Temporarily, Elena corrected. And only their fleet intelligence. It's not permanent damage, but it will create enough confusion for us to send a clear message. Commander Chen realized what Elena was planning. You want to turn our research station into a weapon? Elena nodded slowly. Every piece of equipment on this station can be weaponized if you understand the underlying physics. The deep space communication array can be converted into a focused quantum disruption beam. The gravitational sensors can be used to create localized space-time distortions. Even the life support systems can generate electromagnetic pulses. She paused, looking at each crew member in turn. But someone needs to coordinate all these systems simultaneously. Someone who understands the aliens' technology well enough to exploit its weaknesses. Someone they don't expect. The implication was clear. Elena was volunteering to become something she had never been before. Visible, central, and dangerous. The quiet girl who had spent her life in the shadows was preparing to step into the light as humanity's most unlikely warrior. Dr. Chun made the decision. Do it. Convert everything we have into weapons. How long do you need? Elena looked back at the approaching alien fleet, now close enough that their energy signatures were creating interference with the station's sensors. 18 hours for the conversions. Then, we wait for them to get close enough that my quantum disruptor can affect their entire fleet simultaneously. As the crew dispersed to help with Elena's preparations, she remained on the observation deck, watching the alien ships approach. For years, she had been preparing for something without knowing what. Now she understood. Elena Martinez, the invisible girl nobody noticed, was about to become the most feared human in the galaxy. The aliens had made one critical error in their calculations. They had assumed that humanity's greatest threat would be obvious, loud, and conventionally dangerous. They had never considered that their deadliest enemy might be a quiet young woman who had spent her life learning to think like them, preparing for a war that nobody else knew was coming. The hunt was about to begin. Elena stood in the station's central command hub, surrounded by jury-rigged weapon systems that no military engineer had ever imagined. 18 hours of frantic modifications had transformed the peaceful research outpost into something that defied conventional understanding of warfare. The communication array now pulsed with contained energy, its dish realigned to focus quantum disruption beams instead of receiving signals from Earth. The gravitational sensors had been reconfigured into space-time distortion generators. Even the coffee machine had been converted into an electromagnetic pulse emitter, Elena's touch of dark humor in the face of annihilation. They're entering weapons range, reported Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez from the tactical station Elena had improvised from the geological survey console. 15 ships in perfect formation, just like you predicted. Elena's fingers moved across multiple control interfaces simultaneously, her mind calculating quantum field interactions faster than the station's computers. She had spent the last day becoming something beyond human, a living interface between advanced mathematics and desperate improvisation. Their scan patterns indicate they're searching for our defensive capabilities, Elena observed, watching the alien fleet's energy signatures on her modified displays. They're confused. Their instruments show a research station, but their calculations suggest something else entirely. Dr. Park monitored the bioneural interfaces Elena had installed throughout the command hub. Elena, your brain activity is off the charts. You're processing information at levels that should be impossible for human consciousness. Elena barely heard him. Her awareness had expanded beyond normal human perception, enhanced by the quantum field fluctuations from her own devices. She could sense the alien ship's collective consciousness like a vast, alien music playing at the edge of reality. I can feel them thinking, Elena said softly. Their minds are beautiful and terrible. They see humans as a virus spreading across their ancient territory. They've been watching us for decades, waiting for the right moment to eliminate our expansion before we become truly dangerous. Commander Chun felt a chill of recognition. Elena, you're starting to sound like them. Are you sure the quantum fields aren't affecting your mind? Elena turned to look at her commander, and Chun saw something that made her step back involuntarily. Elena's eyes had acquired an otherworldly quality, as if she were seeing beyond normal space and time. They are affecting me, Elena admitted. I'm becoming something between human and alien. It's the only way to understand their technology well enough to defeat it. But I'm still me, Commander. I'm still fighting for humanity. The alien fleet suddenly changed formation, their ships spreading into an attack pattern that Elena recognized from her months of studying their communications. They're preparing to fire, Elena announced. But they're targeting our defensive systems first. They want to capture the station intact to study our technology. Elena activated her quantum field disruptor, and reality seemed to shiver around the station. The crystalline core blazed with impossible light as space-time itself bent in response to her commands. On the alien ships, chaos erupted. Their collective consciousness, which had coordinated perfectly for millennia, suddenly fragmented as quantum static flooded their shared mental network. 15 individual ship minds found themselves alone for the first time, confused and terrified by the unexpected silence where their unity had once existed. Now, Elena whispered, and activated every weapon system simultaneously. The communication array fired first, sending a focused beam of quantum disruption directly into the lead alien vessel. The ship's elegant hull shimmered and twisted as its internal quantum fields collapsed, leaving it drifting powerless in space. The gravitational sensors created localized space-time distortions around 3 more ships, trapping them in recursive temporal loops where they experienced the same moment repeatedly, unable to break free from the mathematical prison Elena had constructed. Elena's most ingenious weapon proved to be the converted life support systems. She had realized that the aliens' quantum-based technology would be vulnerable to precisely timed electromagnetic pulses that interfered with their quantum coherence. The pulses rippled through space, and for alien ships simply vanished, not destroyed, but temporarily phased out of normal reality. 8 ships neutralized, Rodriguez reported, his voice filled with amazement. The remaining 7 are trying to retreat, but they're moving erratically. They can't coordinate without their collective consciousness. Elena wasn't finished. She had spent months learning to think like the aliens, and now she understood their greatest fear. Using the station's deep space communication system, she broadcast a message directly into the quantum field that connected all alien technology. The message wasn't words or images. It was pure mathematics, elegant, terrifying equations that described weapons Elena hadn't built yet, but could. Technologies that could turn stars into bombs, that could rewrite the fundamental forces of physics, that could reach across galactic distances to strike at the aliens' homeworld. Elena was bluffing, but her mathematical proofs were so sophisticated that the alien minds couldn't distinguish her theoretical weapons from reality. To them, this small human outpost had just demonstrated the ability to destroy their entire civilization. They're fleeing, Park reported in shock. All remaining ships are jumping to faster-than-light travel. They're running away. Elena deactivated her weapons systems one by one, feeling the strange enhancement to her consciousness fade as the quantum field stabilized. She staggered slightly, the enormous mental strain finally hitting her as she returned to normal human awareness. It worked, she said quietly, almost surprised by her own success. They think humanity possesses weapons technology centuries beyond what we actually have. Commander Chen helped steady Elena as she swayed from exhaustion. What you did, that wasn't just brilliant tactics. You became something else entirely. How did you know it would work? Elena looked out at the stars where the alien fleet had disappeared, leaving only empty space and the drifting hulks of the ships she had disabled. Because I've spent my whole life being underestimated, she said. I know what it's like to be invisible, to be dismissed as harmless. The aliens made the same mistake with humanity that people made with me. She turned to face her crew mates, who were looking at her with expressions of awe and uncertainty. Elena Martinez, the quiet communications officer they had barely noticed for months, had just won humanity's first interstellar war using nothing but mathematics and imagination. But this isn't over, Elena continued, her voice carrying new authority. They'll go back to their leaders, report what happened here. Some will believe the threat is real and argue for avoiding human space entirely. Others will want to investigate, to discover how we developed such advanced technology. Elena moved to the central command console, already planning for the next phase of a war that most of humanity didn't even know had begun. We need to send a message to Earth, she said. Not about the attack, that would cause panic. We need to tell them to accelerate the development of quantum field technology. What I built here was improvised and temporary. If the aliens return with proper preparations, my tricks won't work twice. Dr. Park approached Elena cautiously. What about you? What happens to the quiet girl who nobody noticed now that you've revealed what you're really capable of? Elena smiled, and this time there was both sadness and determination in her expression. She never existed, Elena said simply. What you saw as a quiet, unremarkable person was really a potential hunter learning to understand her prey. Now that the hunting has begun, there's no going back to being invisible. Elena began drafting the coded message that would reach Earth in 3 weeks, containing the mathematical foundations for technologies that could protect humanity from future alien threats. But she knew that her real work was just beginning. The galaxy had noticed humanity now, and some species would respond with curiosity while others would answer with violence. Elena Martinez had become Earth's secret weapon, the quiet genius who could think like aliens and turn their own sophistication against them. The girl nobody noticed had transformed into the hunter the galaxy would learn to fear. And, in the vast darkness between stars, Other ancient civilizations were already beginning to wonder what other surprises the young human species might be hiding among their unremarkable citizens. 6 months after the battle at Outpost Sigma 7, Elena Martinez stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed research vessel Prometheus, watching 3 different alien fleets maintain careful distance from human space. Word of humanity's impossible weapons had spread through the galaxy faster than light itself, carried by quantum whispers between civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Elena wore the uniform of Earth's new Deep Space Intelligence Division, a black outfit that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The insignia on her collar was simple, a stylized eye surrounded by quantum field equations that most humans couldn't comprehend. She was no longer invisible by choice, but her visibility served a very specific purpose. Report from the Centauri Observatory, announced Lieutenant Sarah Kim, Elena's aide, and one of the few people who could follow her advanced mathematical reasoning. The hegemony fleet has moved to a position exactly 47 light minutes from our perimeter. They're maintaining perfect formation, but showing no aggressive intent. Elena nodded without turning from the observation window. She could see the alien ships even without instruments now. The quantum field modifications she had made to her own brain during the first battle had become permanent, giving her perceptions that existed somewhere between human and alien consciousness. The hegemony are testing our response patterns, Elena explained. They want to understand how we detect threats and what we consider acts of aggression. They're intelligent enough to avoid the mistakes the first species made, but they're also cautious enough to believe my mathematical bluffs. Behind them, the Prometheus hummed with activity. Elena had designed the ship herself, though her plans were so advanced that Earth's engineers needed months to understand how to build what she had drawn. The vessel looked like a standard exploration ship from outside, but its interior contained weapons systems that existed purely as mathematical constructs until the moment they were needed. Dr. James Park, now Elena's chief scientific advisor, approached with a data pad containing the latest intelligence reports. We've identified at least 12 distinct alien civilizations monitoring our space, he said. 3 are clearly hostile, 4 appear neutral, and 5 seem genuinely curious about our technology. Elena finally turned from the window, her eyes reflecting light in ways that seemed almost alien themselves. The curious ones are the most dangerous, she said. Hostile species will attack predictably. Neutral ones will stay away. But the curious ones will try to understand how we developed quantum field weapons so quickly. She moved to the central command station, where holographic displays showed the current positions of every known alien presence near human space. The mathematics of their movements told stories that only Elena could read. When they investigate our technological development, they'll discover that we don't actually possess the weapons I claim to have, Elena continued. Most of our quantum field research is still theoretical. What I built at the outpost was improvised from research equipment and pure desperation. Lieutenant Kim frowned. Then, aren't we in danger? If they realize we've been bluffing? Elena smiled, and the expression carried depths that her former colleagues would never have recognized. Who says we're still bluffing? She activated the command station's primary interface, revealing schematics for weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics around them. The designs were beautiful and terrifying, combining human creativity with mathematical principles that Elena had learned from studying alien technology. For 6 months, I've been using Earth's resources to turn my theoretical weapons into reality, Elena explained. Every time an alien probe gets too close to our space, I learn more about their technology. Every intercept gives me new insights into their weaknesses. They think they're studying us, but I'm studying them right back. The central display showed a real-time map of human space, now protected by a network of Elena's quantum field generators. What looked like simple research stations were actually nodes in a weapons system that could reach across light years to disable alien technology. Dr. Park studied the designs with amazement and concern. Elena, some of these weapons could destabilize entire solar systems. You're talking about power levels that rival stellar phenomena. I'm talking about survival, Elena replied firmly. The galaxy is full of species that have existed for millions of years. They've had time to develop technologies we can't imagine, to create alliances and strategies that span geological ages. Humanity's only advantage is that we think differently than they do. She activated another display showing psychological profiles of the alien species monitoring human space. Most galactic civilizations develop along predictable paths. They become efficient, logical, specialized. But humans are chaotic. We're unpredictable. We solve problems in ways that established species never consider. Elena moved to a specific console that connected directly to her enhanced neural interface. When she touched the control surface, quantum fields throughout the Prometheus responded to her thoughts. What I've become represents humanity's greatest weapon against galactic civilization, Elena continued. I'm a human who can think like an alien, but with human unpredictability. I can anticipate their strategies while developing solutions they can't comprehend. Alarms suddenly began sounding throughout the ship. Lieutenant Kim rushed to the tactical station. Elena, we have incoming ships. Unknown configuration, approaching at faster-than-light speeds. Elena's enhanced senses immediately detected the newcomers before the ship's instruments could analyze them. New species, she announced calmly. Not one of the 12 we've identified. These are different. Old. Much older than the others. Through the observation windows, space itself seemed to bend as 5 impossibly elegant vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel. The ships were crystalline structures that appeared to be grown rather than built, pulsing with energies that made reality shimmer around them. They're beautiful, Lieutenant Kim whispered. They're apex predators, Elena corrected. Those ships are alive. The species that built them transcended the boundary between biology and technology millions of years ago. They're here because they consider humanity a threat to galactic order. Elena moved to her command station, her fingers dancing across interfaces that responded to quantum field fluctuations from her modified brain. This is what I've been preparing for. Not just defending human space, but proving that humanity deserves a place in galactic civilization. The alien vessels transmitted a message that bypassed all conventional communication methods, speaking directly into the minds of everyone on the Prometheus. The thoughts were ancient, vast, and utterly alien. Young species, you possess technologies beyond your development level. Explain your advancement or face judgment. Elena stepped forward, connecting her consciousness directly to the ship's communication array. When she responded, her thoughts carried the weight of mathematical proofs that stretched across dimensions. We are human, Elena projected. We advance through chaos, inspiration, and the refusal to accept limitations. Our technology comes not from following predictable development paths, but from individuals who see solutions that others consider impossible. The ancient aliens paused, processing Elena's response. She could feel their minds analyzing the mathematical structures underlying her thoughts, searching for deception or technological assistance from other species. You are singular, the aliens finally replied. Your advancement comes from one individual rather than species-wide development. This is unprecedented. Elena smiled, knowing that she had just revealed humanity's greatest secret and its greatest protection. I am not unique among humans, she lied with perfect mathematical confidence. I am simply the first to be discovered. My species produces individuals like me regularly. We call them geniuses, inventors, visionaries. You cannot predict when they will appear or what they will create. The ancient ships withdrew slightly, their crystalline hulls pulsing with new patterns as the aliens consulted among themselves. Elena had just convinced them that humanity was a species of potential weapons developers, each generation capable of producing individuals who could threaten galactic civilization. We will observe, the aliens finally transmitted. But we will also prepare. Your species will be watched. Your geniuses will be studied. If humanity becomes a threat to galactic stability, we will act. As the ancient ships departed, Elena felt the weight of what she had accomplished. She had bought humanity time to develop real defenses, but she had also painted a target on every human who showed exceptional intelligence. Elena, Dr. Park said quietly, what have you done? You've made every human genius a potential target for assassination. Elena nodded grimly. But I've also made them valuable. Some alien species will try to eliminate human intellectuals, but others will try to recruit them. Competition for human talent will keep us safe while we build real defenses. She looked out at the stars, where dozens of alien civilizations now watched humanity with a mixture of fear and fascination. Elena Martinez, the quiet girl nobody had noticed, had become the most important human in the galaxy without most of humanity even knowing her name. My job isn't finished, Elena said finally. I need to find the other humans like me, the ones who think differently, who see solutions others miss. I need to train them to become hunters like I am. Lieutenant Kim approached Elena cautiously. What if there aren't others like you? What if you really are unique? Elena turned to her aide with an expression that combined human warmth with alien complexity. Then, I'll create them, she said simply. Humanity survived because one quiet girl learned to think like the enemy. Now I'll teach others to do the same. The galaxy thinks they're watching for human geniuses to emerge naturally. Elena smiled, and the expression carried the predatory satisfaction of a hunter who had just completed the perfect trap. They have no idea that I'm about to manufacture them systematically. The age of human invisibility is over. The age of human hunting has just begun. In the vast darkness between stars, ancient civilizations continued their eternal watch, unaware that the greatest threat to galactic order was no longer hiding among humanity's unremarkable citizens. She was actively recruiting them.